Welcome back again, and today we are going to discuss why do we forget words? One question always asked when people learn vocabulary is, why do we forget words? There are many answers to this question. There are 4 areas of why people remember or forget words. They are known as the 4 R's. Relevance, the importance of a word. Repetition, how many times a word has been used. Recycling, using words over again. Rapidness, the speed of learning. Relevance plays a key role. Simply stated, if you teach a word that is not needed or deemed unnecessary, the student will not want to learn that word. However, if you teach a computer course and you teach computer terms, the students will remember the terms. The more interested they are in the subject, the higher amount of vocabulary will be retained. Repetition is needed to enforce remembrance of words. If a learner is exposed to a word at least 8 times, they are more apt to remember it. If you can apply it to everyday use and expose the student to the word in a 2 or 3 week period, they will remember the word. Add words to new sentences and elicit responses. Soon you will notice students remembering the word. Recycling is using words over and over in a pattern. Use repetitive phrases in new sentences so the learner can learn to use words in different forms and in different ways. The student will have the chance to see the word numerous times and will be able to remember and use the word more frequently. The more they use it, the more they will remember it. Rapidness is the pace that the student learns new words. The student must be at a level where he or she can understand new words and how to apply them. You want to pace the new words as not to cause brain freeze or plateauing to the learner. Don't make it hard on them by speeding through lessons. The easier the words are and how they are paced makes a big difference in learning. Students remember the easier words first. Many words must be from different words families, groups of words that are linked: food, clothing, rooms in a house, greetings, instead of words from the same word family. Go slow and don't overload the students, or the students will forget them thinking they are irrelevant and will only remember a few words or groups that seem relevant to them. What makes a word difficult? Many times learners have problems with words because some words have similar meanings and can be used in many different ways. Other problems arise by what is known as cognates, or words that are used in many different languages. Some may have the same meaning while others may have a completely different meaning. This can make learning a language easier or harder depending on the student. Since English is part of the Indo-European language group with Germanic roots and largely influenced by Latin words, many of same words used in modern English are also used in German, Italian, French, and Spanish. As you can tell by the examples below, there are many similarities between the languages even though they come from different roots. Police, police, polizia, police, politia. No, mean no, non, no. One, I uno, ununo. The dos, die, der, il, lo, la, los, los. This may not work in all situations. There are some languages that if you try to look at the word, it may mean something completely opposite, or it may mean the same thing, as English words were adopted into a language because of wars and prior to the war when no word was used to describe the item. Baka, in Japanese, means stupid, while in Tagalog it means cow. Cell phone in the USA is a hand phone in Korea and a cell in the Philippines. Pregnant in the USA, embarazado in Spanish, and buntis in Tagalog. Knife in English and nifu in Japanese. This makes it difficult for learners to learn words they cannot pronounce. Many Asian people can read and write, but have a difficult time speaking. Many will be shy to talk to strangers, of English descent, because they are shy of their pronunciation. Others will completely refuse to speak English and in some cases refuse to speak. To compensate for this, a student will have to learn to overemphasize words in order to obtain the correct pronunciation. When a student becomes aware of a continuous mistake and overemphasizes words, they are more likely to be able to correct it quickly. Let's take the word beach. When the word is spoken, in Korean, it will be pronounced as beachy. This is because whenever there is a ch sound and a j sound, it is followed by an ee sound. To stop this, the student must be taught to overemphasize the word and speak beach until he or she pronounces it properly and stops utilizing the long e sound. I taught a Chinese teacher that I worked with English. In the Chinese language, there is no th sound. During classes, the teacher was continuously making the F sound with her lip between her teeth. I finally had to tell her to hold her lip with her fingers and stick her tongue between her teeth to be able to make the sound. After a few tries, the teacher was able to make the sound correctly. Likewise, in these two countries there is no distinction between the L and R sound. In Korean, the L and R letters are written the same in their text, but sometimes a small distinction in the sound could be discovered. However, I could not tell when the distinction between sounds occurred, but the Koreans could and would laugh at me because of it. This can be confusing to a learner trying to learn when they cannot distinguish a sound. One problem lies with the difference between speaking and listening. A tape recorder or MP3 with a recorder can be a great device to utilize. The student can listen to how they speak and can listen to how you speak, so they can distinguish sounds and make changes in tones and in stress when they speak. Weeks or months later, they can listen to the original tapes of them speaking and how they speak now and discover that they have improved. One word that was difficult for some Koreans when I was teaching was the word film. It was difficult because students would want to pronounce every sound. The Korean language is written so every sound is pronounced, or at least some sounds are blended. The word sounded like Phil, M. Trying to correct their pronunciation, the students were told to continuously make the L sound until their mouth closed and then to make the M sound. I even had a practice session where they would only pronounce the L and M sound blended. A few short weeks later, the students could make the sound and they were happy to make progress. Meaning: when two words overlap in meaning, they can cause confusion. The words make, do, go, and play are the most common. One would make a bed and breakfast, but would do the dishes and the laundry. One would go running and swimming, but play football and baseball. A useful tool would be to give the students a handout with the household chores with the correct way of saying it. Play and go are much easier to explain. The word go is used in a verb plus ing, swimming, while play is used to explain sports without an ing ending, play football. When the students learn only one meaning of a word, they may have difficult time learning other meanings. Many times this can be a cultural problem, as many words in English are not translated easily into the foreign language. Other problems are because when a student buys a dictionary, they only have a limited amount of meanings in them. When this happens, the student usually only chooses the first meaning instead of the target meaning. Many Japanese, Chinese, and Koreans have problems with articles. When they speak and write, they use a number before a noun to reflect how many of something. They will say 1 month, 2 month to indicate what month it is. This is the same problem many English speakers make when they learn one of the Romance languages, from Latin, and in some cases Indo-European languages. Many of the articles and words are feminine, masculine, or neutral depending on the subject. Many English speakers find it difficult to distinguish what would be considered feminine or masculine. The earth is female in French, but male in Spanish. Many English speakers find it also difficult as to why the French always use the article the before every noun, while German uses different words to distinguish what pronoun to use, depending on sex and what part of speech, and what article to use with it after that's been distinguished. Likewise, in German, all nouns have to be capitalized. Many students find it confusing to learn a new language when one of our grammar rules doesn't follow their rules. The same would apply when we try to discover other language grammar rules and discover they do not apply to our rules. To help out with this, explain the rules, give as many handouts as possible, correct the mistakes and explain what they did wrong and ways to correct the areas. Spelling. This is a common error area for learners of English and native speakers alike. Mostly because 500 years ago there were no English dictionaries. Most people wrote the way they thought a word sounded. This is called phonemics. It is still used in countries like Malaysia and the Philippines. Since many words were spelled the way they sounded, it caused mass confusion until one day a man decided to write a dictionary. Because of his dictionary, his spellings became the basic rule on how words should be spelled. However, 200 years ago, many people in the United States wanted to be different from the British and in a sign of protest decided to spell words differently. This has caused some animosity between British speakers of English to their American counterparts. Harbor harbor. Americanize Americanus. Color color. Prize prize. As you can tell, there is a difference in the way Americans spell than those who learned British English. This may be a problem when teaching spelling when you have a course book that is not from your English native background, American or British. In the Philippines, phonetics is used when writing, and most of their written vocabulary is done phonemically. Taxi, toxi. Telephone, telepono. However, most people make spelling mistakes because they write the word as they think it should be spelled by sound alone. When teaching spelling, you have to teach silent letters, foreign words, that are written differently because of the origin, silent E markers that reflect sound, and double letters to change or keep certain vowel sounds. Well, that is all the time we have for today. I hope you come back next time so we can continue on this topic. Until then.